Can you hear me? Yes, okay, good. My name's Rob Bachmann. I'm your first speaker. I'm going to try and respect the time of 15 minutes, but I noticed that I'm starting 15 minutes late, so can we all agree we're 15 minutes late?
Yes.
I'm turning on my timer right now as we speak, and Chip is going to warn me when I get close. I'm very passionate about this topic, so I could talk all day, but I won't. Okay, as you can see behind me, the topic for me is promoting peace by supporting a healthy and educated population. I think back on Wes's comment about the two wolves, and you want to feed the positive wolf. Well, part of that is the foundation of a healthy and educated population. You need that in order to feed that healthy wolf. So today, as I talk to you, I'm going to focus on health and education. I'm going to talk about it in very broad terms. I'm going to narrow it down to a specific aspect, mental health. And then before you leave today, I'm going to actually give you an action item. I'm going to give you a skill when you leave, all in 15 minutes. That's my goal. So I also think of Chip being an anthropology professor, and I think back in my student days, I heard Margaret Mead talk when I was 20 years old. And she said, never underestimate the power of a small group to change the world. She says that's the only way change happens. So I'm encouraged by this group today. Right here in this room, we can change ourselves, we can change the world. So with that in mind, let me also say that I need to set the tone here that this is participatory. I'm going to ask you some questions. Please respond. I'm going to ask you to reflect. I'm going to ask you to share in a group. So I need your involvement, and I hope the other speakers will do the same. Okay, that being said, let's get started. And let's see, my clicker here. Oh, there we go. As I talked about the goals, the broad overview, narrow focus, we can move on. Okay, here's that first question. I want you to reflect, what do you value the most? Or what would you miss the most if you didn't have it? Go ahead and reflect a couple seconds by yourself, and then talk among your group, and I'm going to ask for some responses. So reflect for a few seconds. Okay, talk among yourselves. What do you value the most? Go ahead, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds here. Okay, there's good discussion there. Anybody, please, want to share some of those thoughts? Somebody way in the back, yes.
I value the most of being able to say I have some of the skills to share with my great-grandchildren the value of closing your eyes, listening with your heart, and physically touching other people.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Let's have a few more. Go ahead, anybody else? Anybody else? I'm going to call on somebody. Yes, over here, next to Rachel. Yes, young man.
Girl.
Oh, girl, I'm so sorry. I'll get my eyes checked. Okay, go ahead. Pardon me.
Food.
Food? Okay, I like food too. I'm with you on that. Okay, let's have a couple more, and then I'm going to pull up a list. How about right here, this young lady? Freedom. Okay. Anybody else? How about over here, a hand?
Honor and integrity.
Honor and integrity. Okay. I'm just going to pop up a list here. Of course, I put health. And then, oh, my click there, it's kind of weak, but peace, love, family, education, freedom, choice, faith, purpose. I find that, well, I'm back one here. Most people will probably think about their health and put it in one of the top three. All right, so today, again, we're focusing on health and education. So I hope some of these resonate with you as you thought about that, all right? So moving along, the importance of health and education. I put up some thoughts up here, and I'll put them out there to you and kind of hopefully stimulate you. I saw this bumper sticker, and it says, you think education is expensive, try ignorance. You know, when you think about education and its connection to wealth or poverty, and you think about world peace and strife, When people are educated, they have choice, they're able to earn a better living, things are better for that individual, for that family, for that society. So education is that foundation to a better life, okay? This phrase here, what you don't know can hurt you. How many have heard the other one? What you don't know can't hurt you? Well, let me give you a quick example that I think will resonate with people in this group. What you don't know can't hurt you. I'll give you an example. How many of you know how many drinks you can have in an hour? How many of you think you know? Okay, there's a way to actually calculate it. You can Google an app that's your drink calculator. So right now in your group, I want you to talk about how many drinks do you think an average sized woman, 110 pounds, can have in an hour, and how many can a man, average size, 150 pounds? Quickly in your group. How many can you drink in an hour and be okay? I hate to interrupt, but in the interest of time, anybody raise your hand. How many can a woman have? Now, I know there's individual difference, but yes, go ahead, sir. Two. Okay? If that woman has 2 drinks, she could start to be impaired. She won't be legally drunk in California, but if she has a 3rd drink, she'll get arrested for drunk driving. How about the man? 5, I heard? Same? Remember, he's 150 pounds, he's a little bigger. 3. So he can have 3 beers. But if he has 3 beers, he'll be impaired. But if he has that 4th beer, he'll be pulled over for DUI. Now, you might say, okay, well, I didn't know that. Now that I know that, I'm going to be a little smarter. I want you to think of the consequences. So you drink too much. You get a hangover. Oh, okay, you can survive that. Or maybe you regret. Maybe you have unprotected sex and, oh my gosh. Or maybe you get pulled over for a DUI and you get arrested. Or maybe you have a car accident and your best friend is dead and now you're in jail. No, what you don't know can hurt you, okay? So education, know something about it. This is kind of a health education talk. I do this when I teach health ed. Know about drinking, be a responsible drinker, okay? All right, I'm not promoting underage drinking, but I know human nature, people experiment. Know what you're doing, know about the consequences. Okay, in the interest of time, I'll just share this real quick. Healthy, wealthy, wise, I love that expression. If you're not healthy, it's hard to become wealthy. And if you don't live a long time, it's hard to become wise. I always think, I'm 60 years old. I go, wow, I wish I was 30, but I want to know what I know now then. I wouldn't go back without that. And I'll share this as a parent. My son, between the ages of 13 and 24, whenever I talk to him, you know what he always would say to me? I know. So I'm telling young people this. Is that what you tell your parents when you talk to them? Wait till your parents. You're going to hear, I know. And then when they're about 25, they go, maybe dad knows something. How do you do that? You know, how do you get a loan for a house? Okay. So the other scary thing is, kids, when you become your parents, you think, oh, I'll never do that. When you have kids, I'll never tell my kids that. You're going to tell them. And when you're dating, when you meet the parents, that's a big deal. You know why? Because that person you're dating, they're going to become the parents. So meet the parents. All right, now, just some thoughts about that. Okay. This quote here, education without health or health without education is folly. They really go together, okay? Well, let me move on here a little bit. Oh, I'm going to skip this example, but I'm going to give you another one. I talked about the alcohol. I thought about the audience today, and I wanted to gear it more to, a lot of you weren't alive in 1980 when HIV was a big deal, but I'll talk about this. How many of you remember sex education class? All right, I taught those classes. How many of you remember just say no, abstinence? That didn't work too well, did it? So, here's what I say. Not no, N-O, but no, K-N-O-W. I found that if you just tell young people, say no, it's like give them a fish. I want to teach them to fish. So I want them to know the consequences if they get involved in a sexual relationship. See the difference there? See the connection to health? Lifelong consequences. You get a disease, you get pregnant, changes your life. So the best way is to teach someone to fish, to know the power of education. All right, you with me? Okay. Now, Let's go to this. I'm looking at the clock. Peace and mental health. I want to shift the focus down. I've been talking big concepts. Now let's talk about mental health. Inner peace, that was mentioned. Wes mentioned that. Mental health. Outer peace, that's where it affects the community. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's the campus, maybe it's the world. There's a trend. Increased mental health issues for individuals and society. I'd like you to reflect on some examples of mental health and how that's impacting the world today or maybe your lives. Go ahead, take a couple seconds, talk among yourself, please. 5 minutes, good. Okay, anybody want to share one or two? Anybody? Yes, sir.
All the mass killings and spree killings taking place around the United States, or when people who have mental health issues acquire guns.
Okay.
Those are very efficient at destroying lives.
In case you didn't hear him, he talked about the active shooter and the mass shootings. In fact, on my slide here, that's the last one I have. I kind of started with, on an individual basis, stress, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, suicide, homelessness, prisons. Our prisons are filled with the mentally ill. And then the violence active shooter. All right, so any other one? I'm going to add one there because I'm going to try and move along with time because I want to get to that specific goal I'm going to teach you. Okay. Stigma in mental health, that's a huge issue. When I was growing up as a kid, there was an ad on TV that said 1 in 10 Americans suffer from mental illness. The other 9 suffer from ignorance. Still true today. We have to deal with the stigma. There's an avoidance, there's a fear, there's a lack of awareness and understanding. We need to bridge that. We're making efforts, but there's still more to go. Let me give you some quick data on students. Stress is the #1 complaint students have. 50% of students feel like giving up, quitting during the semester. 25% stop going to class. And this is shocking, 11% think about suicide. 11%. And that's not just our campus, that's across the nation, these figures. Here's the question, here's the takeaway today. At your group, what would you do if someone said, I want to kill myself? Quick, talk among yourselves what you do. I'm going to coach you what to say. Go ahead, talk among yourselves. Someone says, I want to kill myself. What do you do? Okay, normally I'd let you talk longer, but in the interest of time, I'm going to pull you in. How about any brave volunteers want to offer what would you do? Anybody? Yes, right here, please. Ask him why and listen. Excellent. You must have taken the training. I like that. Okay. Usually what I get is people say, oh, I didn't take him seriously. And sometimes that's a reaction because you're uncomfortable. And I'm going to say this, when we talk about suicide, it's a tough topic. I personally know a family member committed suicide. Some of you in this room know people. Some of you have thought about it. But we must talk about suicide because it's preventable. I'm going to give you what to do. The lady had it right. Listen, ask the question. There's a topic called QPR, question, persuade, refer. It's like CPR, but it's QPR. It's for suicide prevention. I teach this class. Very briefly, what you need to do is when that person says that and say, wow, are you serious? Take them seriously. Then persuade them to get help. Come with me, let me walk you to the health center. Let's go to public safety, all right? And then refer them to help. If you can't do that, get somebody who can. Do not let that person leave. There's a suicide hotline number up here, okay? Because maybe you're at Starbucks, you're not at campus. Good resource for you to have. All right, so you will save a life. You know what to do. I'm not saying you're a therapist, but take it seriously, respond. You can save a life today, tomorrow, in the future. And I think I'm out of time. Am I good?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.